The glass doors of the Grand Crest Hotel whispered shut behind me, sealing me into a world of crystal chandeliers and murmured conversations. I smoothed my emerald dress, a small celebration for myself after the promotion letter had arrived that morning. My entire family was already gathered at the reserved table. My father, Thomas, stood at its head, his expression hardening as he saw me approach. Before I could even offer a greeting, his voice cut through the pleasant ambience, loud and deliberate. "Look who decided to join us. Thelma, I told your mother this was unnecessary. A promotion to senior vice president? It's just a title. You didn't earn a real celebration." A stunned silence fell over our table and several nearby. Heat flooded my cheeks as every eye turned to me. The maitre d', a man named Antoine, glided over, his professional smile tight. "Is everything all right here?" he asked, his gaze flickering between my father's defiant stance and my frozen humiliation. I don't remember the exact words I mumbled before turning on my heel. The elegant carpet muffled my retreat as I pushed back through the glass doors into the cool evening air. Inside my car, the shaking started. I gripped the steering wheel, watching the hotel's golden lights blur through unshed tears. This wasn't a surprise, not really. It was the culmination. Flashbacks, sharp and painful, played behind my eyes, him scoffing at my college acceptance, dismissing my first job, refusing to attend my graduation. For 20 years, I had collected achievements like armor, hoping one would finally be thick enough to stop his words. That promotion letter, the one I'd framed in my office, felt like ash. He hadn't just insulted me, he'd publicly declared my life's work worthless. An hour later, in the quiet sanctuary of my home office, the shock hardened into a cold, clear resolve. He thought I was unworthy? Fine. I would let the world show him otherwise. I opened a drawer, not for tears, but for evidence. I laid it out on my desk, the promotion letter, commendations from our CEO, handwritten thank you notes from clients I'd helped, industry awards. Each piece was a brick in the foundation he refused to see. As I sifted through the papers, a glossy brochure caught my eye, a charity gala announcement for next Saturday. It was to be held at the Grand Crest. My father's name was listed on the host committee. A slow, deliberate smile touched my lips. The same venue. A different stage. The next morning, I called the Grand Crest from my office line, my professional voice steady. "I'm inquiring about your VIP client services for an upcoming event," I stated. The event coordinator, Alara, was effusive. "Of course. We have a prestigious program for our notable guests." Then she paused. "Wait, Thelma. Thelma from Bryson and Associates? The one who secured the Wellington merger?" I confirmed, surprised. "Your reputation precedes you," Alara said warmly. "We'd be honored to have you. Our VIP list is curated by achievement, not just old money connections." Her delicate emphasis was a dagger of hope. My father's influence stopped at their door. Mine, it seemed, had already opened it. A plan crystallized with meticulous care. I would attend the charity gala, but not as Thomas's overlooked daughter. I would be there as a VIP guest in my own right. I spent the week strategically, lunch with a former mentor, coffee with a journalist contact, quiet emails to colleagues who would also be attending. I confirmed my VIP status with Alara, who promised a special welcome. The pieces were moving silently on the board. The tension was a quiet hum in my veins. Then, on Friday, my mother called, her voice tense. "Your father saw the guest list. He knows you're attending the gala. He's displeased." The game was now in the open. Saturday arrived. I wore a sleek, silver gown, a silent statement. At the hotel entrance, Antoine the maitre d' was waiting. "Miss Thelma," he said with a deep nod, bypassing the check-in line. "Welcome. The VIP lounge is ready for you." As he guided me through the opulent ballroom, I saw him. My father, holding court near the stage, froze mid-sentence. His eyes tracked me, confusion then dawning irritation twisting his features. He leaned toward my mother, who stood beside him in a fluster, and whispered something sharp. Her worried glance darted to me. Antoine led me to a prime, secluded table. The first move was mine. I hadn't been seated 5 minutes when a familiar, friendly face appeared. Thelma. I heard you might be here. It was Janet, a powerhouse consultant I'd partnered with years ago. She air-kissed my cheek. I saw your name on the VIP roster. Well-deserved, darling. This gala is charming, but the real event is the Founders Circle dinner next month. You simply must come. She winked. I'll have an invite sent. No need to go through conventional channels. Her meaning was clear. My network was opening doors my father couldn't even see. The power shift was silent, but profound. From my vantage point, I could observe him. My father kept stealing glances, his laughter at his own jokes becoming forced. I saw him gesture toward me while talking to a stout man in a tuxedo, a family friend, Mr. Dalton. My father's lips moved in a familiar dismissive pattern. But then Antoine glided past their group. My father stopped him, saying something, likely questioning my presence. Antoine listened, then replied with a polite, inscrutable smile. I couldn't hear the words, but my father's face stiffened. Antoine then glanced toward me and gave a slight, acknowledging bow before moving away. My father's confidence visibly cracked. He turned back to his group, but the conversation had died. I moved through the crowd like it was any other business function. I greeted the CEO of a rival firm, discussed market trends with a columnist from the Financial Times, and shared a genuine laugh with a tech investor I'd admired. Each interaction was calm, professional, and earned. Then, I saw my father being led over by Mr. Dalton. Thomas, you must meet this rising star everyone's talking about, Dalton boomed, oblivious. He stopped in front of me. This is Thelma, the genius behind Bryson's recent boom. My father's smile was a rictus of horror as he was formally introduced to his own daughter's professional success. The evening's formal program began. The event host took the microphone for welcomes. After thanking the committee, she added, we'd also like to extend a special welcome to our distinguished VIP guests tonight, whose own achievements inspire us. A particular welcome to Thelma, recently promoted to Senior Vice President at Bryson & Associates for her groundbreaking work. A polite, knowing applause rippled through the room. At my father's table, all conversation ceased. I saw my half-brother, Mark, nudge his wife, pointing at me. The first public acknowledgement. It was a small thing, but in that room, it was a cannon shot. My father leaned back in his chair, his fingers tightening around his wine glass. During the cocktail intermission, a woman from my father's circle, Lydia, always fiercely competitive, approached me with a saccharine smile. Thelma, dear, how lovely. A VIP. Your father must have pulled so many strings for you. Her implication hung in the air. I simply smiled back, gracious. Thank you, Lydia. Actually, the venue manages their VIP list independently. It's based on professional contribution. I'm sure you understand. A man nearby, a respected architect, overheard and chuckled. No need for strings when you built your own ladder, right? Lydia flushed and retreated. The small victory was sweet. Just then, the columnist I'd spoken to earlier tapped my arm. Thelma, I'd love to feature you in a piece on next-gen industry leaders. Can we schedule a chat? The journalist, Ben, and I found a quiet corner. As I spoke about my journey, the late nights, the strategic risks, the team I was proud of, I saw my father watching from across the room. He was trapped in a conversation but his eyes were glued to us, to the nodding journalist taking notes. His expression was a storm of disbelief and dawning realization. The person he dismissed was someone others sought out for insight. The narrative was slipping from his control. He couldn't dismiss Ben as a fool, the man's byline was too prestigious. For the first time, my success existed in a realm his disapproval couldn't touch. The shockwaves reached his inner circle. My stepmother, Evelyn, kept looking from my father's stony face to me, her expression one of confused recalculation. My half-siblings, Mark and Sophie, were whispering animatedly. I caught fragments, always said she was just a paper pusher. VIP section is supposed to be for donors over 50 grand, Sophie, the younger, looked at me with something akin to awe. The family myth he'd built, of my mediocrity, was crumbling before them. As dinner was announced, Antoine appeared at my side. Miss Thelma, we've reserved a seat for you at the head table. Your insights would be valued. The head table was the epicenter of the room. My assigned seat was beside the keynote speaker, a position of visible honor. As I sat down with calm assurance, I felt hundreds of eyes on me, including the burning gaze from my father's table, now relegated to the periphery. Every detail unfolded as planned, yet it felt surreal. The respectful nods from other head table guests, the sommelier pausing to ask my preference first, the way the conversation flowed to include me naturally. I was no longer an intruder in his world, I was a recognized guest of honor in a world that valued my own merits. He couldn't stay away. Midway through the main course, he appeared at my elbow, his voice a low, forced growl meant only for me. Making a spectacle of yourself? A little recognition and you forget your place. Before I could even draw breath, the man on my other side, Mr. Armitage, a major client I'd personally retained last year, turned. Thomas. Is this your daughter? She's absolutely brilliant. The deal she structured for us saved our quarter. He clapped me on the shoulder. You must be so proud. The silence that followed was absolute. My father's jaw worked. He managed a stiff nod and retreated, the weight of that public, unintended praise like an anchor around his neck. After dinner, Janet found me again, this time with a tall, elegant woman in tow. Thelma, this is Clara Winslow, from the National Business Leadership Council. Clara's handshake was firm. Janet sings your praises. We're hosting a summit next month and our keynote just cancelled. We'd be thrilled if you could speak on transformative leadership. The offer hung, glittering and immense. I accepted gracefully. As we discussed details, I saw my father lingering nearby, pretending to examine a painting. He heard every word. The humiliation was no longer just social, it was professional. He was witnessing opportunities flow to me that he could never access. The host returned to the microphone for closing remarks. Before we begin the auction, she said, I'd like to personally thank our special guests for gracing us tonight. Their presence elevates this event. In particular, Thelma, we're so inspired by your trajectory. Congratulations again on your well-earned promotion. She raised her glass toward me. The room followed suit in a toast. The applause was genuine and widespread. I saw my father's lips move, undoubtedly muttering some version of undeserving. But the sound was drowned out by the clapping. His opinion had become a whisper in a hurricane of validation. A formidable man with a shock of white hair approached me. Charles Donovan, my father's longtime business rival. Miss Thelma, he said, voice like gravel. I've watched your work. Impressive. Your father never mentioned your acuity. If you ever tire of Bryson, my firm could use a strategist with your nerve. The offer was a weapon, and he knew it. I smiled, my poise unbroken. That's incredibly generous, Mr. Donovan. I'm flattered and committed to my team at Bryson, but I truly appreciate the offer. I chose loyalty over spite. His eyes gleamed with respect. My father, watching from afar, looked utterly defeated. Even his rival saw more value in me than he did. The final masterstroke came unexpectedly. The host, beaming, made another announcement. And as a delightful update, we've just learned that our own VIP guest, Thelma, has been confirmed as a keynote speaker for the National Business Leadership Council Summit. A fresh wave of applause erupted. Alara, the coordinator, whispered to me, our social media team is issuing a press release about our VIP guests tonight. You'll be featured prominently. The recognition was now layered, institutional, and very public. My father stared at his empty dessert plate, a man utterly unraveled at the scene of his own making. The collapse of his narrative was complete. As guests mingled for final drinks, several approached him to talk about me. "Thomas, your daughter is remarkable. Why keep her hidden?" one jovial man asked. Another, more astute, commented, "Must be inspiring to see her forge her own path so spectacularly." Each question was a needle, highlighting his prior behavior. He could only muster tight, noncommittal smiles. His authority, his role as the family's sole arbiter of success, had evaporated in plain sight. Evelyn looked embarrassed, Mark fascinated. The family unit, built partly on his dismissal of me, was publicly fracturing. I sought out Mrs. Abernathy, a sharp-eyed elderly philanthropist and a close friend of my late grandmother. She had watched the entire evening with a knowing smile. "My dear," she said, taking my hand, her voice carrying clearly in a momentary lull. "Your grandmother would be bursting with pride. She always said you had the true spark in the family. It's a pity some were too blind to see it." She glanced meaningfully across the room. Her words, from a revered figure, were the final seal on the social judgment. My father heard them. He physically flinched, the last of his color draining from his face. The host handed me the microphone for the traditional guest of honor closing toast. The room quieted. I looked out, my gaze resting calmly on my father's strained face for a brief second before sweeping the room. "Thank you. True celebration isn't about privilege," I began, my voice steady and clear. "It's about recognizing hard work, resilience, and the quiet victories that build a career and a character. It's about respect that is earned, not demanded. Tonight has been a beautiful reminder that our worth is defined by our actions, not by anyone's permission slip." The applause was thunderous, a vindication that vibrated in my very bones. I added, "And the best part of a true celebration? The surprises that come from believing in your own path." As the applause died down, Antoine and Alara wheeled out a small, elegant podium. On it sat a beautiful, engraved crystal trophy. In keeping with our tradition, Alara announced, "We present our VIP of the Evening award to the guest whose presence most embodies the spirit of achievement. Tonight, it goes to Thelma, for demonstrating that the most powerful success is built with integrity and grace." She handed me the trophy. Its weight was solid, real. The engraving caught the light. My father looked at the object, a tangible symbol of everything he denied, something he could not argue with, bought by no one's influence but my own. I said my final, gracious goodbyes, the crystal trophy cool in my hand. The night air outside felt like a baptism. As I waited for the valet, Ben the journalist hurried out. "Thelma. That was incredible. My editor wants a full profile, not just a column. Your story, the professional triumph, the personal narrative, it resonates." He handed me his card again. "Let's talk next week." The valet pulled up with my car. I took one last look at the glowing facade of the Grand Crest. I had entered it hours ago seeking a celebration others denied. I was leaving it having rewritten the entire story. Driving home, there was no rage, only a profound, settled peace. The victory wasn't in his humiliation, though that was a consequence of his own making. The victory was in the quiet knowledge that had settled in my core. I knew my worth. I had proven it not with shouts, but with quiet dignity, not by tearing him down, but by rising so visibly that his dismissal became his own embarrassment. The promotion letter on my wall would now hang beside a crystal trophy. Both were mine, earned. The future was no longer about seeking his approval, but about walking confidently in the light of my own hard-won respect. The celebration I deserved hadn't been given. I had claimed it, and in doing so, found something far greater.